Hello there. Thank you so much for having me, and John, thank you for the kind intro. It makes me sound somewhat important. I feel like I need to get back to work and do some stuff. That's a lot of things on the list. So, Jim, I also want to thank you for recognizing that we are already in Bellevue. We do have a store here. Allison, our store manager, is here. Allison's right there in the middle. Go visit Allison, 0.4 miles away, just that way. One of our best and most beautiful stores. So, no, I'm thrilled to talk to you today a little bit about REI and our enthusiasm to be coming and bringing our campus here to Bellevue. I want to talk to you a little bit about our brand. I think the reality is people in the Northwest region know REI, don't always know all the nuances of what it is to be a co-op, what it is to be a member-led organization. And I want to talk to you a little bit about that and about the journey that we've been on and the philosophy, the ethos, and some of the values that we look to bring as we arrive in Bellevue as new partners and neighbors and friends. So let's get to it. I can kind of skip this part because I don't have anything to tell you other than what John said, other than I've been at the co-op now for about 3 years. I am thrilled to be here. I have the benefit of a job title that's vague enough that I can travel widely throughout the co-op and sort of argue that it's creative adjacent, so I get to have an opinion about it. But it's an amazing organization, 80 years old, tremendous organization with a great culture and heritage. And I feel truly fortunate to be a part of it. And I think as leaders, we think of ourselves really as stewards of the co-op on behalf of our members. And that mindset, that idea really influences the way we think about growth, the way we think about leading, the way we think about advancing the organization and the brand and the work that we do. So, who is REI? Well, like I said, if you're from this region, you actually probably know us. As I speak further east across the country, I have to explain that it's not REI, it's REI, and yeah, no, it's like that store you just named, but different. It's a co-op. So, co-op, as I said, is just about 80 years old. We will be 80 years old next year, founded in 1938. And REI was founded in a pretty unique way, and I think a way that says a lot about what the business has been ever since. 23 climbers, led by the Andersons. 23 climbers came together and said, you know, we love climbing, we love the life outdoors. We have trouble getting great gear. At that time, in 1938, access to great gear was a serious barrier. They wanted some ice axes. Alone, as individual climbers, those ice axes were out of step or out of reach price-wise. Together, collectively, as a cooperative, they were able to buy those ice axes, distribute them, and suddenly they had a business. But that notion of forming a business around a shared passion, forming a business to solve a problem together versus forming a business to maximize profit, or say, how do we grow this and take advantage of the ability to sell this stuff to other people, it is a big deal, and it's a big part of who we are even to this day, 8 decades later. And that notion of putting shared passion in the middle of all that we do, that notion of thinking of our members as owners, thinking of our members as partners and friends, thinking about a community in the outdoors rather than customers and people to sell to, talk at, those are founding principles that we still carry forward today, and they're a big deal in the business. So at the end of the day, our business is really about this big idea. The belief that a life outdoors is a life well lived. And I think if we look at the journey we've been on in the last few years, especially since the arrival of our CEO, Jerry Spritsky, 4 years ago, REI has always believed this, and REI has always done huge things to make this a reality. But we haven't always talked as openly or as broadly about it, and we haven't always probably thought as expansively as we could about our ability to catalyze this energy in other people. This belief that a life outdoors is a life well lived is central to who we are. But if it's only a belief, it can only go so far. And what we've really asked ourselves to do and really challenged ourselves to do is to think in a big way about, if you believe that, then what are you going to take a stand for and what are you going to take a stand against? If you believe that a life well lived is that life outdoors is an integral component of a life well lived, then you're going to fight for it. And you're going to fight against the things that stand in its way. And that notion, which has always been a part of who we are, who REI is, we really have been a bit more explicit about and stepped forward in big ways to try to make that happen. And I'm going to talk about what that looks like. You know, yes, we have 150 some stores, but Mark's not wrong. We are not a giant company compared to some of the competitors out there, right? We are maybe the biggest co-op in the country, but we're not the biggest player in the country. What we do believe is we can have a big impact by putting our values first, by really organizing around this idea, and by taking actions around it as well. So, authenticity is at the core of this business, and again, founded by 23 climbers. This notion of authenticity is core to how we talk to each other about who we are, but it's also really important to reach and to resonate with the people who live a life outdoors. We're not the only people who believe a life outdoors is a life well lived, and the people who do have a pretty high set of standards to believe that you are living up to that when you step into that space. Again, I talked about that idea of stewardship, but I also talked about that idea of heritage. 8 decades of presence in this space is a big deal. And we have to think about not only the place we sit today, not only the future that we want to build, but paying tribute to the heritage of the organization and the people who have been a part of making that life integral for people who feel the same way. So, what that also though means is authenticity has to carry through to our story interaction, right? So we really do put our members in the center of everything that we think about. A co-op, at its simplest level, the business construct is we are owned by our members, right? I'm just going to do it. It's an easy moment in this meeting. Who is a member of REI in the room? That's awesome. Thank you. That's tremendous. At one point, you gave us, depending on when you joined, an amount of money. It was recent. It was about $20. And with that $20, we got a lifetime membership in REI. You got a lifetime membership in the co-op, and you became a part of a pretty special organization, and you're one of 16 million people in the country who has done that, which is no small number of folks. You get a dividend, and I know that's a special time of the year for all of you. But part of this too is to take what, at its base level, if we didn't do anything more with it, would just be a transactional relationship, and to build more value, build more meaning to it. Send and we are happy to sell you great gear, great experiences, amazing trips. But more than that, we believe that we share a set of values. We believe that we believe a life outdoors is very, very important to all of us. And based on that shared belief, we're going to do some stuff together. And if we do it together, cooperatively, with cooperative action, we can make awesome stuff happen. You might be sitting in the crowd and say, boy, that sounds like you don't have shareholders. You're right, we don't have shareholders, right? We don't have a quarterly shareholders call, which I'm okay with. I don't miss that at all. Like, I've been attached to businesses that do, and I'm okay with that. But I will say, despite that fact, I think we actually hold ourselves to a higher standard. We're always thinking about impact on society, impact on employees, impact on members, and then we have to run a great business. We have to run a great business in order to fuel all those things that we aspire to do. So I think it's a higher standard in some ways, though again, there are some things that are part of your everyday life that, good, I don't miss that. I welcome you taking that for the team. Thank you very much. So, but it also does really mean that our actions matter. Our members hold us accountable for doing right by the co-op, and they judge us when we don't, right? And we have the same standards with ourselves. So what does that mean? What are the things that we have to do to make that really true? Well, one thing we do is we give almost 70% back of every dollar we make to the outdoor community. That means profit sharing with our employees. That means the dividend that I know everyone enjoys and likes. But that also means really significant investment in the places and the organizations that protect the places that make a life outdoors possible. Last year we gave away $9.3 million, invested $9.3 million in over 1,000 outdoor spaces and trails across the country. That's a huge deal. Mark Brecken, who's in the room, is a huge part of that work. Mark really leads a lot of that work for us, and that is on-the-ground work with the people who are fighting every day to protect places, to build access to places, to make sure that those of us who love the outdoors aren't damaging the outdoors when we're there. It's really important work, and it's core to who the co-op is. It also means really thinking about those 16 million members every day. And we really have worked hard to make sure we're putting them not only first in our mind, but that when we're telling stories about those members. I think a lot of outdoor brands, a lot of outdoor organizations really like to put that pinnacle athlete at the top of the pyramid, right? This person who has achieved great things, and we admire that person, we love that person, but we also believe there are amazing stories in our membership base and in our employee base. And that notion of finding the amazing sort of human achievements and struggles and outcomes in the outdoor space that come out of our membership has been a really powerful engine for our brand and how we think about it. And those 16 million members really do come first in everything we think about. Recently, they came first as we started to talk a lot more about public lands. And Mark, I'm just going to keep calling you out, man, because we've been linked at the arms. I will say, I will not get political, but I will say the last year has been more, shall we say, active in the public land space than we might have expected going into it. And I think it's a good example of REI. Again, you've got members in every state. You've got stores in 36 states. I wouldn't presume to believe, and we don't presume to believe, that everybody feels the same way politically. But we do believe there are things we share in common. And when we opened our newest flagship in Washington, D.C. last year, a couple of weeks before the election, which was a really gentle time in D.C. to open a flagship. Not much going on. People were really focused on, hey, is there a cool new store in town? It is a really cool new store. We should go visit later. But we launched it with 100 days of outdoor activities over the course of the summer. 100 events in 100 days. We got 50-some thousand people out in a single weekend around the idea of United Outside. Left side, right side, there's a lot of good stuff there, but United Outside is the thing that we can share in common. And we've approached public lands in the same way. As public lands have come under threat, and as national monuments have been under examination for being changed in designation, changed in access rules, we were able to reach out to our membership base and have 40,000 people reach out to the Department of the Interior to say, public lands matter to me, national monuments matter to me, I want to protect these places, I want to protect these places for future generations. That idea of the work we do today, lasting for generations, we all sit today, very fortunate that generations before us protected those lands. Part of our job as stewards of those places is to help protect that. So public lands, an active space of engagement in 2017. We also, a couple years ago, did a little thing called Opt Outside, which was, at that time, we really looked around, and as we looked at Black Friday and the holidays, and what we were going to do as a business, how were we going to show up to compete, we looked at a moment where we really kind of felt like consumerism was out of control. And again, we're retailers, so yes, we like to sell stuff, but at the same time, that stuff is about enabling experiences. And felt like Black Friday had become kind of an Ouroboros, right? It had become a self-fueling entity that was really kind of out of control. And for us, the question of what we wanted to do in that moment really came down to our employees. What were we asking our employees to think about? What were we asking our store managers to think about on Thanksgiving? Is it how early can I get to the store for screaming deals? Or was it, you know, family and loved ones and the things that you value most? And we had a conversation. We had a group inside the co-op kind of talking about the holidays. And one of the leaders in the business, our head merchant, a woman who's been there for 20 years, said, yeah, we could never do it. But what if we just weren't open on Black Friday? And in that moment, the whole room kind of lit up. And then we had to, pitch that idea. Other people weren't in the room. They didn't have that same infectious sense of joy. But one thing that's really incredible about REI is the CEO, the CFO, the COO, everybody's response was the same. How do we do this? How do we figure out how to do this? It wasn't, here are the 55 reasons you can't. It was, let's figure out how to do this. And I will tell you with no exaggeration that the most fulfilling moment of my career, the most special moment of my career was having the opportunity to stand on stage down in Sun River, Oregon and announce that we were going to be closed on Black Friday and pay our employees to go outside. And the energy in that room was pretty amazing. And we thought, well, we nailed it. What a great moment for employees. Hey, we'll invite other people to come too, and if they come, that'll just be gravy. And we were blown away by the response. And in that first year, almost 1.5 million people raised their hand off outside with us, unasked and unplanned for. 150 organizations from state parks to other businesses said, we want to be a part of this too. And I'm going to show you a short video, kind of based on the second year of Opt Outside, which was last year, to kind of show what that looks like and what that feels like out in the world. So.
movement that is anti-Black Friday.
I lead our marketing efforts. I'm going to tell you, we don't have a budget to reach 3.5 billion people. But what we do have is the ability, through 16 million members and through a lot of people, and I hope some people in this room who chose House Outside, to lead with our values first and to catalyze action, right? Authenticity through stories and through action. And in investing in our people and inviting people to join us, something much, much, much bigger than we could have ever dreamed happened, much bigger than we could have ever made on our own happen. And that's the way the co-op thinks. What does cooperative action and impact look like? What does it look like when we are clear about what we believe, when we give people a way to engage? When we make a choice, we take an action, we give people a way to participate. Opt Outside is a good example. It's not REI Opt Outside, it's Opt Outside. And because of that, it's millions of people have used that to tell their stories in the outdoors. We've given them a platform to tell their stories. And that's something we're very excited and proud about. So I'm not allowed to say anything official about this year, but I would say stay tuned in the next couple of weeks for an exciting announcement about Black Friday at REI. It doesn't involve sales. Okay, so kind of inspired by Opt Outside, we've also asked ourselves to step into cultural spaces where we believe we need to make a difference and can make a difference. And this year, we had an effort which we're very excited about called Force of Nature. And Force of Nature was really based on the simple idea that the outdoors is and should be the world's largest level playing field. In reality, many outdoor organizations, many outdoor brands, if you look at stories they tell, if you look at the people they put forward, if you look at the way in which their leadership teams in some cases are even built, it's very much a boys' club. And the notion for REI is a part of a much larger body of work called Mary's Trail, named for Mary Anderson, our founder, was this idea of, are we doing everything we can in our business to be an equal playing field, right? Do we have the right gear for women, not just as they enter an activity, but as they become an expert in activity and go beyond? Do we have the right pay equity in our stores? Do we have the right paths to leadership inside of our business? Are we making the right investments? Are we doing the right things? When we looked at the brand level, we said, are we telling stories in a way that demonstrate what we believe? And really felt like we had some work to do too. So we took over this entire year with a women-first Force of Nature commitment to really put women at the center of the stories that we tell. Stories about women, stories by women, and again, stories about people in the outdoors, living an amazing life in the outdoors, who happen to be women. And the great thing about it is, it's been really great for, yes, women's sales, but men's sales too, right? It's not like suddenly the business on men's business dropped off. The notion of compelling stories in the outdoors, compelling investment in the outdoors that celebrates women and puts women first isn't a limiter to your business, it's an accelerator. And again, we didn't do it for business reasons, we did it for the reasons we believe, but the benefits are there as well. So Force of Nature is a good example of the way we try to think about these things and continue to challenge ourselves to think big there. The storytelling we've done, it's not the focus of today, but we really have asked ourselves to tell stories about real people, real members in the outdoors, what the human experience looks like there. Again, not always celebrating achievement, in some cases celebrating the struggle. The gentleman there on the upper right-hand corner is a guy named Paul Stifler, who was a part of a film for us called Trail Angel, which is about a guy who really suffered through a lot in his life, was suffering from PTSD, and really kind of pulled away from society. And happens to live in Maine, kind of near the terminus of the Appalachian Trail, and kind of found himself and found people again by bringing hot dogs and beer and ice cream to people at a point in the trail where there aren't any hot dogs and ice cream and beer. And that idea of being a trail angel, that idea of just selflessly giving, helped him find himself, right? These stories of who people are in the outdoors, the best of who we are in the outdoors, are a big part of what we believe evangelizing the outdoors is all about. So really important stuff too that's going to start to lean toward when I talk about our campus. I think it was last year, may have been the end of 2015. I'm not positive, I apologize for that, but we built a new distribution center down in Arizona, and it's the world's first LEED Platinum net zero energy distribution center. And that's a big deal. For the people who work in that space, that's a really big deal. The other thing that was a big deal is we open sourced the whole thing, in that we're sharing with any business in the world, including our top competitors, here's what we did, here's how we did it, here's what we want you to do too. Because we, again, believe the impact is more important than a competitive advantage there. when you look at product sustainability, it's very important to us that the things we sell live up to those same standards. So we've done partnerships with 66 leading brands to create Pig Index, to do other very specific things in the business that are about making sure we're doing the best that we can do to not have a negative impact on the places that we love and the outdoors that we love. And then this is not something we probably talk enough about. We are operated 100% on renewable energy across 153 stores at this point, 3 distribution centers, a flagship in 5 different locations, and a headquarter down in Kent. It's no small achievement and something we're very proud of. And it's the type of mindset we're going to bring as we bring our campus development as well. So let's talk about Bellevue. That's the whole reason you're here, right? I mean, come on, get to the point about Bellevue. Man, I'm sitting here forever. Okay, so we're really, really thrilled to become a spring district. And I think the reason it's important for us to talk about who our REI is, it's what we're going to try to bring when we come here. We believe that the Spring District and the vision that Bellevue has for the Spring District is a perfect home for REI. And we really believe REI can be not only a magnet, not only a center, not only a pull into that, but can be a values leader as well. The way we think about creating space for our people, the way we think about the relationship with the outdoors, the way we think about the standards of, again, issues like LEED and standards like the WELL standard for how you build an environment inside the business for people. We really want to be a leader in that. We want to be great partners. We've been thrilled with the partnership with the City of Bellevue, the county, and we really are excited about what we're seeking to do. And I'm happy, and we'll leave some time for questions and answers. I'm not going to take you through the entire campus design, but I will say a lot of outdoor space, a lot of space on the indoors that opens to the outdoors. I spent a lot of time in a conference room down in Kent that has no window at all, and I just can't wait until there's at least a window, God forbid one that opens. I can't even imagine. It'd be fabulous. I'm very excited. We will have opening windows, I promise that. But we're really thrilled to come, and we've organized the design of the campus, both the shell and core, the overall property, and then the interior as well around these 5 central concepts. This notion of uniquely co-op, again, holding ourselves to a higher standard. Is this a building anybody could build, or is this a building that's uniquely co-op? And what does that mean in terms of expressing values? Everything outdoors, again, you got to be able to see the outdoors. You got to be able to feel natural light. You've got to be able on a beautiful day to open and feel the wind. You've got to be able to not feel like you're locking yourself inside for an 8-hour workday. Vital and alive. We really don't want to build a monolith or a monument to REI. What we want to build is a vibrant, living center of what we see as a walkable community. We believe that the Spring District can be something truly special, and we want to commit to making choices in our campus that help make that vision a reality. Free and adaptive, less exciting in the room, but we want a lot of flexibility, right? Because we know that what we build today, we believe this should be a 20, 30, 40, 50-year home for the campus. We want to have the flexibility to change as those standards change. And then grounded and nourishing, and that's everything from the food that we want to offer to people, to the amenities that surround it, to the way you feel when you enter and when you leave. We all know how much of your life you spend inside of the work that you do. And if that work is fulfilling, that's amazing. If the environment around it is that as well, it's even more amazing. And that's what we aspire to do. So, there's also some really important stuff that you guys in the room know a ton about, right? We have been, and Mark and Talby Walter as well, have been working really tirelessly with the city, with the county, and in some cases with the federal government to really make sure we can do things to be great partners to help champion everything from bike commuting to the way in which bike lanes are protected here in the city, to the vision of the East Side Rail Corridor, which as an avid cyclist, the notion of an unbroken rideable trail around the whole lake is pretty darn exciting, and any part that we can play in that we're thrilled to do. But our commitment to really helping to shape the region long term and have REI be a key partner in that and a key unlock for making those things happen is vital to us and something we're very committed to. So that's about it for my formal stuff. I want to move through pretty quickly to leave time for some conversation and questions. And I'm happy to go deeper into any of the stuff that's in this or to go off script a little bit, but I wanted to leave. I think we've got maybe 20 minutes or so, it looks like 15 minutes to have conversation or just stare awkwardly at each other. I'm perfectly comfortable doing either one. It's up to you. So yeah, but thank you. Yes, in the back.
Pros and cons of being a cooperative. You mentioned a few of them.
Sure. I think so the question was pros and cons of being a cooperative. I think the pro is that that construct, that reality is at the center of everything you do all the time. And you really are forced to make decisions based on the benefit of the membership, the value to the membership. And I think in some ways, I wouldn't say that's a con, it's also a pressure, right? It's a productive tension. That idea that we're going to make decisions that aren't just best for the business, but are best for the mission of the co-op. Like I said, it's a higher standard, and that's an amazing accelerator when you want to do things like opt-outside, but it's also a pressure that makes it harder to do things sometimes. I will say one thing just from a pure business construct, right? You know, if you don't have shareholders, you don't have access to capital in the same way in the marketplace, right? So when you want to do big things, we run a debt-free business. When you want to do big things, you have to really run a smart, lean, productive business to be able to do them and be able to fund them. So I mean, I would tell you, for every one thing I would say that might be a challenge, there's 10 things that aren't. I think being a co-op gives us tremendous freedom. It gives us an ability to be bold and think big. It gives us a very quick and very immediate referendum on everything we do through the membership that's very involved. And I think it gives us, as I said it earlier, and it's very real, a sense of being stewards, a responsibility to think about not just the short-term success of the business, the long-term viability of the business and of the co-op. I spent some time earlier this summer I'm a chief creative officer. You might imagine finance isn't my core strength. As I listened to the business leaders that surrounded me, just how many of their decisions were driven by immediate return. I've got to show something by next quarter. I've got to show something by the quarter after that. And conversations where people were saying, I don't even think I'm doing the right thing, but I have to do this thing. Now, maybe that's a little bit extreme, but that's just not a conversation that we're having at REI. And the ability to say, I need to make a decision that's going to be great 20 years from now, and the pressure to say that is a very real thing, and I'm very grateful for it. So, yeah.
First of all, thank you for being at Bellevue. You looked at other locations as well prior to making that decision.
We didn't. This was the first place we looked, and we said, this looks great. No, I'm kidding.
Talk to Amazon about that. What was the deciding factor? How did you guys decide? Is it a one-person decision? Is it a board decision? Did you ask your customers?
No, it's
curious with the deciding factor.
It's a fair question. We had some pretty rigid criteria. We were looking at employee impact. We were looking at sort of the ability to deliver to the brand. We were looking at the ability to have great partnership with the city itself. We had kind of a long list of criteria, even like score sheets, and we looked at a lot of different options. And in the end, we felt very clearly that the vision of what the Spring District aspired to be, the partnership with the city of Bellevue, the ability to play a part in that and to be a partner in that, not just a recipient of someone else's plan, was really motivating for us. And I think that any decision like that is hard, right? I mean, there's always pluses and minuses and advantages and disadvantages to any choice. I will tell you, for us, it was not an incredibly difficult decision when we sort of added up all the pieces and felt like and continue to feel like we've made a great choice for the co-op, and I believe a great choice for our employees as well. So, yeah.
Who was your number 2 choice?
The mic just cut out. It's amazing. Gosh, guys, that 15 minutes just flew by.
Could you elaborate a little bit more on the impact on employment, both the move, how many people you're thinking are going to come along, and also recruiting in the future with this new location?
Yeah, the question is impact on employment, both current employees and recruitment in the future. When we first started this, like on my first or second day, our CEO said, hey, one of the things you're going to get to be really involved in here is building a new campus. And I was like, this is great. On the agency side, which is where I came from, I worked with a lot of companies. I did a lot of work with Microsoft on campus stuff. I'd done a lot of work with other organizations on campus. And he looked at me and said, there's nothing more disruptive to a business than having to move. And I thought, no. And then like 10 minutes later, I said, wow, yeah, no, that's right. That's a lot of fun. And the reason for that is, you've got to kind of live in 2 headspaces all the time. You've got to be thinking about the known knowns today and what's left to be determined. And I think our employee base in Kent is probably like any employee base that knows a move is coming. You've got people who are very excited, and you've got people who have questions about what does this mean for me. And we're a very transparent organization, so we talk very early about what we plan to do, which means at some of those moments, there are more questions than there are answers. I think we've been really committed to being very clear about, here are the things we're committed to delivering, here are the questions we're going to deliver to you, and here's the roadmap to get there. And I was yesterday with the marketing group, spent a half hour talking about the campus, and I think the reality is a lot of that content was already accessible to people, but just having somebody walk them through and talk about it. I had a lot of people reach out and say, hey, I feel better, I'm excited about this, or I didn't know that, or I wondered that. So we're very hopeful that it's going to be a great solution for our current employee base. And at the same time, we know that being closer to Seattle and Bellevue will open us up to some people who probably, for whatever reason, for commute or their lifestyle, their family, a drive south every day didn't make sense. So we're really focused on both aspects of it, but delivering a great experience and a great campus for the people who have already dedicated themselves to REI is really high on our list. It's got to be. That's part of what the co-op is about. So yeah. Other questions? I thought I saw one in the back there. Yeah.
Mine was kind of related about given. I mean, you've got Sound Transit building a station right near where you're going to be, but it doesn't serve Kent, and housing prices have kind of gone berserk. And so I was just wondering the specific effect of that on the employees, and wondering, for example, if you're going to implement something for your Kent employees,
Sure.
like Microsoft does with Connector, or how you would think about implementing that.
No, it's a perfect example. Those are exactly the conversations we're having, and those are the exact questions our employees are asking. And as I said, we're really transparent and visible about having that conversation. What's not totally satisfying for them or for you today will be, I don't quite have the answer for that yet, right? But part of that is because there are new solutions emerging all the time. We were in a meeting the other day where somebody said, have you heard of Scoop? And I said, I've never heard of Scoop. And it's an app. It's like an Uber-like app that allows, I feel like the oldest person in the world. It's a thing on your phone. You press with your finger. It's a cooperative ride-sharing app that's focused on commuting. Now, if you'd said to me, 5 years ago, we're not going to buy a fleet of cars because everybody's going to just have someone on their phone that gets them picked up, I would have said, no way. If you say 3 years from now when you open a campus, is there a solution that might look different than Microsoft Connect? I'm going to be eager to see it, and we're really committed to finding what's the best solution for our employees and what's the best solution for the co-op. And some of that's going to be, there'll come a point in time where what we know today has to become the answer, but on some of those issues we're not quite there yet. But we do absolutely understand the concern and take it seriously for sure. Because traffic in Seattle and Bellevue is just amazing. It's great. And I'm sure it'll get better, right? Other questions or thoughts? This is the awkward silence portion. I can just slink off the stage. So thank you guys very much. I appreciate your time.